Welcome to this live chat facility tutorial. We have had a lot of questions recently about the chat facility and how to use it, so let's get into the video. The chat facility is built with students in mind, with a tool that doesn't need to be parent or teacher led. Each of our pages are linked to the person behind the broadcast, even after it's finished, so you can always ask your questions and get a response about the broadcast. So, let's have a look at how to use the chat facility. To use the chat facility, the first thing to do is to type your comment or question into the chat box. You can now enter your screen name. Your screen name will show when you type your question or comment. Now you will see the chat facility ask for your email address. As I mentioned before, each of our pages are linked to people from the organisation who can reply to your questions. You can enter your email address, which will not be shared with anyone, to get a direct response from the people behind the broadcast. If you do not want a direct response, then click the button at the bottom. People behind the broadcast can still respond to you if you don't provide your email address. This just means you may have to come back to the page to check the response. You can now speak to the people behind the broadcast and ask any questions you may have, or check out our partner pages to see the companies we work with who you can speak to right now about their current vacancies. You can also check out our careers page, which connects you to employers. Our live chat service is linked 24/7 to employers from a wide range of sectors, all waiting to hear from you. You can leave a question about how to produce a professional CV or how to prepare for interviews, anything work related, and one of our businesses will respond to you directly. You can also access a wide variety of live interactive broadcasts and video on demand with the live chat support on all pages. Now this bit is for the parents, guardians and teachers. The best bit about the live chat facility is that it is completely moderated, so you don't need to worry if your young person leaves a silly comment, as it will only show on their screen and no one else's. Another great thing about the chat facility is that it is GDPR protected, so no information is shared with anyone else. We will protect all email addresses and will never share personal information of the young people. If you have any questions about the chat facility or the Learn Live channel, please use the email us icon at the top of the page. Thank you, stay safe and stay tuned. Welcome to this live chat facility tutorial. We have had a lot of questions recently about the chat facility and how to use it, so let's get into the video. The chat facility is built with students in mind, with a tool that doesn't need to be parent or teacher led. Each of our pages are linked to the person behind the broadcast, even after it's finished, so you can always ask your questions and get a response about the broadcast. So, let's have a look at how to use the chat facility. To use the chat facility, the first thing to do is to type your comment or question into the chat box. You can now enter your screen name. Your screen name will show when you type your question or comment. Now you will see the chat facility ask for your email address. As I mentioned before, each of our pages are linked to people from the organisation who can reply to your questions. You can enter your email address, which will not be shared with anyone, to get a direct response from the people behind the broadcast. If you do not want a direct response, then click the button at the bottom. People behind the broadcast can still respond to you if you don't provide your email address. This just means you may have to come back to the page to check the response. You can now speak to the people behind the broadcast and ask any questions you may have, or check out our partner pages to see the companies we work with who you can speak to right now about their current vacancies. You can also check out our careers page, which connects you to employers. Our live chat service is linked 24/7 to employers from a wide range of sectors, all waiting to hear from you. You can leave a question about how to produce a professional CV or how to prepare for interviews, anything work related, and one of our businesses will respond to you directly. You can also access a wide variety of live interactive broadcasts and video on demand with the live chat support on all pages. Now, this bit is for the parents, guardians, and teachers. The best bit about the live chat facility is that it is completely moderated, so you don't need to worry if your young person leaves a silly comment, as it will only show on their screen and no one else's. Another great thing about the chat facility is that it is GDPR protected, so no information is shared with anyone else. We will protect all email addresses and will never share personal information of the young people. If you have any questions about the chat facility or the Learn Live channel, please use the email us icon at the top of the page. Thank you, stay safe and stay tuned. Welcome to this live chat facility tutorial. We have had a lot of questions recently about the chat facility and how to use it, so let's get into the video. The chat facility is built with students in mind, with a tool that doesn't need to be parent or teacher led. Each of our pages are linked to the person behind the broadcast, even after it's finished, so you can always ask your questions and get a response about the broadcast. So, let's have a look at how to use the chat facility. To use the chat facility, the first thing to do is to type your comment or question into the chat box. You can now enter your screen name. Your screen name will show when you type your question or comment. Now you will see the chat facility ask for your email address. As I mentioned before, each of our pages are linked to people from the organisation who can reply to your questions. You can enter your email address, which will not be shared with anyone, to get a direct response from the people behind the broadcast. If you do not want a direct response, then click the button at the bottom. People behind the broadcast can still respond to you if you don't provide your email address. This just means you may have to come back to the page to check the response. You can now speak to the people behind the broadcast and ask any questions you may have, or check out our partner pages to see the companies we work with who you can speak to right now about their current vacancies. You can also check out our careers page, which connects you to employers. Our live chat service is linked 24/7 to employers from a wide range of sectors, all waiting to hear from you. You can leave a question about how to produce a professional CV or how to prepare for interviews, anything work related, and one of our businesses will respond to you directly. You can also access a wide variety of live interactive broadcasts and video on demand with the live chat support on all pages. Now, this bit is for the parents, guardians, and teachers. The best bit about the live chat facility is that it is completely moderated, so you don't need to worry if your young person leaves a silly comment, as it will only show on their screen and no one else's. Another great thing about the chat facility is that it is GDPR protected, so no information is shared with anyone else. We will protect all email addresses and will never share personal information of the young people. If you have any questions about the chat facility or the Learn Live channel, please use the email us icon at the top of the page. Thank you, stay safe and stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Careers and Enterprise Company broadcast on Gatsby Benchmark 1. This is the surgery session. This Q&A session really follows modules 1 to 4, which was part of the Benchmark 1 broadcast series. And if you missed any of those, they are all available on demand, and we'll put the links on the live chat during the course of this morning. Delighted again to be joined by Marie Jobson, who's the Area Education Manager at the CEC. Morning, Marie.
Morning, everyone.
And I know this morning, Marie, you've got a team behind you answering these questions. You've got Rachel and Kelly at the CEC. I know we're going to hear from Rachel as well a little later in the presentation. I think you're doing one of the presentations at least. And yeah, we've learned a lot over the last few weeks. This is a surgery session attached to the 4 modules that you covered. I mean, for you, what have you learned as delivering this? I guess you've had some learning out of it as well as to where the gaps might be in understanding.
Yeah, it's been so useful to kind of go through this process. You know, I've said this before, every time we present as a team on anything, we get such good practice being shared, and just kind of little questions or comments that really kind of keep informing our thinking as well, and keep us developing kind of thoughts. So I think it's been really, really useful just to kind of consider that flow, consider how it might land in different schools, colleges, different contexts. So it's been really useful for us as a team as well.
Good. And I know you've had a number of emails to the education at email address, haven't you, with best practice and suggestions?
Yeah, that's been great.
I think the best thing for me is that map behind you. It keeps coming up in conversation. Fiona just said, "Love your map on the wall, Marie." So I think that's really the talking point. Yeah. Again, if for people who've joined us today, thank you very much for giving up your Friday morning to do this. Just tell us where you're coming from, which school, and whereabouts in the country you are. It'd be great to see where people are joining us from this morning. And obviously use the live chat to use that throughout these next 4 presentations. We're not going to keep you an hour. It's a little shorter, this one, than the previous modules, but it'd be great to have your questions, and we will, in the gaps, you'll do our best to answer those questions as well. So shall we move on, and shall we present the first sort of session, the surgery session on Benchmark 1? Thanks, Marie.
So 4 main themes or questions emerged across the series of 4 modules that we've done. But please, at any point, if you've got additional questions, please put them in the chat. What we're going to cover today are each of these 4 key questions and themes that came up. And then between each one, we're going to stop for a break. I think what's been really valuable across all the modules is that sharing of best practice as well. So as we think about each theme, any ideas that you've got, any good practice that you've got, or any questions, please put them in. If there are things that aren't covered under these themes, just pop your questions in the chat. So this surgery is really to answer any questions that have emerged. But the 4 main themes that came up that we're going to cover today were around really understanding that strategic planning process, thinking about SLT and governor engagement. There were quite a few questions about evaluation, and also lots of questions about Compass Plus. So we're gonna cover that as well today. So the first question that kind of kept re-emerging was about the strategic planning, and colleagues asked, where's the best place to start with visioning and the planning process, and who should be involved? So the suggested format in the guidance document can be adapted to suit your needs. You may want to start with setting a vision as part of a workshop or as part of a process of collecting stakeholder voice, and then comparing that to school, college vision statements, etc. Or it may be that actually what you really want to do is to unpick your current state and allow that to inform your vision and shape that process of setting a vision. Maybe have that vision based on the ambition that emerges from whatever comes out of your current state as an area to work on or an area of strength. It's really, really well worth the discussion with an enterprise coordinator, enterprise advisor, and or your link governor about the best way forward for this one. And please remember, as with all of the templates and documents that have been shared, the guidance document is just that. It is a guide. Please use it, adapt it as you see fit. So we've also heard a lot from colleagues and questions about how students can be involved in this process, and really advocating that students are involved from the beginning, from the outset. So ideally, all key stakeholders, students, staff, parents, governors, community, are involved not only in really shaping and defining that vision, but also in setting the strategic objectives. There's been, across the modules, some really excellent examples of strategic planning shared with us. Some of them followed slightly different formats, including where elements of a vision for a school or college and strategic objectives had actually been included in a careers policy. You've just got to pursue what format works best for you, your school or college. As long as what's in there is a clear vision, that there are key strategic objectives and a smart action plan about how you're going to deliver that vision and the objectives, then the format can be adapted to house style.
Thank you, Marie. It's very interesting to see who has that involvement in the visioning and planning process, and I'm looking forward to hearing from the people on the call today who've come in. And thanks for everybody who's telling us where they're tuning in from. Cornwall, sorry it's not so sunny there today. It's very windy in Lancashire, and Kay will agree with me, I'm sure. Got schools in London, Manchester, Bedfordshire, Northamptonshire, Hampshire. So thank you for joining us this morning. Marie, I think whilst we're waiting for Rachel's presentation, because your colleague Rachel has done a presentation on how career leaders can increase SLT and governor engagement. Should we just refer to the email that some people on this call may have received in the last couple of days about my week of work on the 8th of June?
I think that would be really good. If you are on the distribution list for the Careers Leader newsletter, you should have received some update yesterday about the My Week of Work with Oak National Academy. So if you do have any questions for that during Rachel's presentation, I'm going to join the chat for the first time. I'm very excited and happy to take any questions about that. But so if you've got questions today about the Oak National Academy and My Week of Work, please put them in. But what we'd really be interested in about the question that we've just had is kind of what thoughts have you had about how you might approach the planning process? So if you have done it already, what have you done? But if you're about to, what thoughts have you had, following these sessions, etc. So keep all your ideas and questions coming through.
Great. And Rachel's just said, if you're not on the distribution list, there's a chance to do that by emailing education@careersанdenterprise.co.uk. Around the country now, because I've mentioned it was windy in Lancashire. So I'm sorry it's windy also in West Yorkshire and in I think it was Teesside as well, Tyneside. It said it. I've just to scroll up and see. Tees Valley, sorry, very windy in the Tees Valley as well. So yeah, we've got the latest weather picture from across the UK. Thank you guys. So as Marie just mentioned, we're delighted to be part of My Week of Work. So this channel that you're on will be during the week the channel to come to watch and ask questions of a variety of businesses from different sectors, and maybe we can, if you've not had the email, give them headlines as to what those sectors will be. And on the Monday, Oak National Academy will be very much part of the delivery and preparation for that week as well. So good to sort of get you involved with both of those. But again, if you've got any questions about that, if you've had the email, I think Laurie just said, yes, got my week of work, going to talk to SLT about this after this broadcast. So very timely. Good to know.
Well, any questions, Laurie, that you need answering before going to SLT, get the questions in now, and we'll do our best to help.
Brilliant. So, new to these broadcasts so far, we're going to be handing over to Rachel Green for the second question. Rachel is the Area Education Manager at the Enterprise Company. Have I got that right? Is she? Have I got the right title?
For the East.
For the East, yes, thank you. So similar to Marie, and she's been answering some of your questions on the chat. You may recognise the name, and she's still doing that at the moment. Thank you, Rachel. Very keen. So Rachel will be answering questions after this presentation on increasing SLT and governor engagement. So over to Rachel. Thank you.
Hello, it's really nice to actually speak to you in person rather than just typing. The second question that has been coming up has been around how careers leaders can increase SLT and governor engagement. Our entire approach to Benchmark 1 is a process involving SLT and governors from the outset, with setting a vision and then being presented with the programme that emerges from that joint strategic planning for their final sign-off. So the whole process of building that strategic careers plan, building a programme incorporating learning outcomes, meeting strategic objectives that are tied to outcomes for students, as well as school or college development plan itself. All of this is a vehicle for SLT and governor engagement. If you don't yet have time slots with governors and SLT, then utilise briefing papers and reports and updates that should be submitted with a request for regular slots to update. Ask to be challenged, ask to be supported. Polite and persistent prompts for engagement. Careers leaders have shared some fantastic websites as windows to programmes and some great ideas like newsletters. Other schools and colleges have an active social media presence, which keeps the programme on people's radars. So make your work something to celebrate, make it highly visible, explore your narrative, and then make sure everyone knows about it, crow about it everywhere. Be clear about purpose and successes. When we talked about evaluation processes, we focused on the importance of capturing a narrative about key events and about the programme. These narratives should be shared along with output and outcomes data successes, as well as all of your wonderful success stories. Evaluation, particularly of outcomes, will allow for key messaging about the impact of your work in tangible terms. There are also key resources that will help you to tie in your careers programme to school and college priorities and to help you to engage with SLT and governors. So we have the guidance document. We've got a new guide for head teachers, which is available on the CEC website. We've got the guide for governors that I know people have found really, really useful. And of course, if you're brave enough, the EIF guide that's out there if you want to raise the big O Ofsted. Do be brave and encourage governors, your link governors, to ask key questions of all staff about careers and where it sits. It will help you to raise the profile of careers across school if you've got that ally on the governing body. So do keep being polite and persistent. Send them the information so that it's highly profiled in your school or college.
Thank you, Rachel, for sharing how to increase SLT and governor engagement. I'm sure a few people have taken a lot from that. So let's have a look at the chat. And if you've still got a chance to ask questions to Rachel about what you've just seen there, about gaining. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Rachel said there, Marie? As I know you work closely with Rachel on this.
No, I think Rachel's kind of covered it. Again, keen to hear any specific queries that you've got, anything that's particularly worked for you, or kind of how you approach it in general to kind of secure, particularly if you've had like a more hesitant SLT or governor that you've been able to bring round. So any examples of good practice are more than welcome as well in the chat. That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be excellent if you could share how you managed to get more engagement. And we've learned, haven't we, about governors and student ambassadors. There's other ways you can do this, isn't there, Marie?
Yeah, it has been really interesting, hasn't it? Kind of thinking about how all those different stakeholders can be involved right through setting the intent. What's been brilliant is hearing how people use students as part of the implementation, whether that's alumni or ambassadors, futures teams, I think one school calls them. So really helping to facilitate as well, and having governors present at activities. So, and then obviously feeding into the evaluation of the impact. So it's brilliant to kind of weave through those stakeholders, you know, and thinking about how parents can kind of support. I know some schools do go out to parents for support with the implementation as well. So it's really important that stakeholders kind of are involved in that whole loop, right through the intent, the implementation, and then the impact. So it's a real kind of cohesive model, you know.
Yeah, brilliant. Good stuff. Well, keep your questions coming in on the live chat, or anything you can do to help others. And obviously there is the email address, education@careersandenterprisecompany.co.uk, to email any ideas you may have as well to support others. I know the CEC will be delighted to hear from you. Now I'm going to pass over to Rachel for the third question, which is, how can I be sure I am measuring the right things? So I'm going to pass over to Rachel to do the third part of this presentation. Thank you, Rachel.
So the third question that kept coming up was around evaluation. How can I be sure that I'm measuring the right things? Well, if you have set that clear vision and the clear strategic objectives, there's no wiggle room on this. Once you've set these and the learner journey to get there, then outputs and outcomes can be measured. We talked about evaluating implementation, and also crucially evaluating impact. This evaluation will be shaped by what your original intent was. So be clear about your original vision and intent, and shape your evaluation to measure this specifically. If your vision is for a resilient student body, for example, then focus would be given on the Future Skills Survey, on measuring student resilience, for example. Remember to separate out evaluation of individual activity and the impact of the entire programme. You don't need to have an enormous paper-based evaluation of every individual activity. A quick temperature check of effectiveness, engagement, or a single outcome is perfect. And we had some really good alternatives to questionnaires shared in the chat on Module 4. Any evaluation that focuses on outcomes as well as output will be heading in the right direction. But the whole process should be a cycle where intent is shaped and then evaluated.
Thank you so much for that, Rachel. I'm sure a lot of people on the call today will have found that very insightful and helpful. So yeah, we're just looking back through some of the comments that have come in. Thank you for those. Aisha said we have student careers and STEM ambassadors. I think that's a conversation we were having a little earlier as well, about people who can get involved in the career process. It's quite interesting, isn't it, Marie?
Yeah, it is really good, you know, particularly students who are obviously much more relatable to young people, whether they be from current student body or recent alumni, or alumni from any era really, just to show students kind of what's possible. Students listen to students, heads listen to heads, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Really interested in your thoughts on the evaluation. I know there was some really rich discussion from the evaluation module. So just keen to kind of hear your thoughts, you know, any ideas that you've had or any queries from it.
Okay, thank you. So I think you've got quite a chunky section here, about 7 minutes, I think in total, 8 minutes in total. We timed it the other day. How can I upgrade to Compass Plus and ensure IT manager/DPO understand and support? Just so everyone knows what DPO stands for, Marie.
Data Protection Officer.
Thank you very much.
There were so many questions through the modules about Compass Plus, so we've made sure that we're covering that in this surgery. Perfect.
Okay. Well, we did promise we'll try and keep this shorter than the other modules. So if you're okay, if you're happy, we'll crack on with that. So this is the fourth and final question for today's surgery on upgrading Compass Plus and how to get that support. Here we go. Thanks, Marie.
There have been lots and lots of really good questions about Compass Plus throughout the module. It's been really good to think about how we can use tools like Compass Tracker and Compass Plus to support careers leaders with Benchmark 1. But there are particular questions about Compass Plus that we just wanted to address because there were quite a few, particularly about the upgrade and bringing key staff on board with that upgrade in terms of the IT manager or data protection officer, just to make sure that they kind of understand and support an upgrade to Compass Plus. So I've worked with colleagues from Compass Plus to formulate this answer to make sure that you've got the right information about how key data is used, and that I can direct you to key resources and links to support your IT manager and your DPO to support their knowledge and understanding. So there's been lots of queries in the webinars about data and how Compass Plus connects with your MIS tools. So essentially, the Assembly app connects to all elements of your MIS data as a universal connector. So a point of connection to all elements of your MIS data, Compass Plus is not authorized to take any of that data without authorization from your IT manager. So it connects to all your MIS data, but a point of connection is not authorized to take it without authorization from your IT manager. So at the point of pulling through relevant data, and that bit is really key. So although it connects to all data, it will only pull through relevant data. So at that point of authorization, the IT manager will be presented with a document. There's an example, there's a link available that we'll put in the chat. And this is the authorization document that the IT manager will be presented with. This is an example. So the IT manager is at this point asked to authorize for the Assembly app that works with Compass Plus to only pull through the data relevant as outlined in the document that comes up for IT managers. So all the data specified to be authorized to pull through to the Compass Plus digital tool. So I think that's really, really key. There's been a lot of concern about the data. So it is a universal connector. It will connect with all points of your MIS data, but your IT manager will authorize only the relevant data for Compass Plus functionality to be pulled through. So you can upgrade to Compass Plus from Compass. Some people refer to it as Compass Classic. There is a button in there within the Compass tool. But please, if you have any specific queries or you're still kind of struggling around kind of IT manager support, please do contact the Compass Plus at careersnenterprise.co.uk. It is a service desk, so all queries will be ticketed and followed up. So please do drop them a line, Compass Plus at careersnenterprise.co.uk. There's been a few colleagues who are really interested in linking with current users of Compass Plus within their areas, just to better understand Compass Plus and the functionality that it can bring. In order to connect with schools that are already using it, the best thing to do would be to connect with your enterprise coordinator, and they may be able to connect you to users of Compass Plus in your area so that you can have that chat about what it looks like and what value it brings. Please do also register your interest in finding out more about the Compass Plus tool with your enterprise coordinator. Drop them a line and if you're interested in finding out more, because we're making an offer to enterprise coordinators. And if they have sufficient interest from a number of schools, we're thinking a minimum of 5 schools, who wish to book a demonstration and a Q&A session with colleagues from the Compass team, then your enterprise advisor may be able to connect you to one of those sessions. So please let your enterprise coordinator know if this is something you would be interested in accessing, pending sufficient interest from other careers leaders in your area. So that was Compass Plus. And finally, we just really want to kind of think about next steps before we break for final questions. So do connect with your enterprise coordinator and your enterprise advisor if you have one in general, but specifically about that Compass Plus, but in general for that localized tailored support. If you haven't got a link governor role, please do consider one. Obviously, Rachel referenced some really good resources to engage governors in supporting and challenging you, but mainly supporting If you haven't done so already, please do have a look at the online training modules that are available on our website. They cover all the benchmarks, including being what's driven the content for these 4 modules. Really excitingly, what's available at the moment as well is you can register your interest in the funded face-to-face training. So the funded face-to-face training is for careers leadership. It's a professional qualification. It does attract £1,000 bursary on completion, and you can register your interest in this on our website. And then what will happen is, as soon as those places are available, and we're hoping that's going to be soon, what you'll get is a comparison guide to allow you to have a look at the different providers, have a look at the different where those providers are offering, what the differences are between those courses. It's about 12 to 13 providers, I think, to have a look at. So please do register your interest if you've enjoyed this kind of process that we've gone through and you really want to kind of get stuck into looking at that a bit more seriously. We've got the resource directory as well, which we keep flagging for individual things, but this is per benchmark. There's resources from us centrally, but what's really, really rich and valuable is in there, we've got actual case studies, examples of practice from careers leaders up and down the country. And we've been able to connect good practice that's been shared through these modules straight into that resource directory so that you can have a look at what other careers leaders are doing, as well as kind of hearing from us. Obviously, we keep in touch mainly through the Careers Leader newsletter. I hope that's where you heard from these modules. If you're not signed up to that yet, please do sign up via education@careersenterprise.co.uk and keep in touch with us. That newsletter goes out obviously more regularly at the moment when schools aren't operating as usual, but usually that's on a half-termly basis. So please do keep in touch with us. Drop us a line at education@careersenterprise.co.uk. We will be reviewing the feedback as part of this from these modules, obviously as part of a robust evaluation process, of course, but we will consider any follow-ups. There have been questions about other benchmarks being covered. We will review that, and please do have a look at our Careers Leader newsletter for any further offer of resource and support from us.
Oh, thank you for that, Marie. And also thank you so much providing those next step outlines to us as well. I also just want to say thank you to Rachel for covering those points also earlier in the surgery today. And it's been great to have you both with us for these broadcasts. Rachel is back on the live chat. Thank you, Rachel and Kelly, for the links I'm sure the others will find useful. So yeah, that was quite a lot you covered off there with Compass Plus, Marie. I don't know if anyone's got any questions relevant to that and if anyone's got any experience of using it and the latest version as well. Good to hear from you while Marie's here for another 5-10 minutes if needed to answer any questions.
Well, I've just seen in the chat that Jules has been with Compass Plus this morning, so any tricky questions I might defer to Jules and see if you can help us. Just a quick query about the online modules. You're absolutely right to call that one out. I think it's Jules again. There used to be separate modules per benchmark. Now all benchmarks are within one online course. So there is content and sections for each benchmark, but there's only one thumbnail, if you like. It is just one course. So you're absolutely right. I shouldn't have referred to them as modules. I'm stuck back in the old days when they used to be separate. So it is one online course, but all benchmarks are covered with content within it.
Thanks for clearing that up, Marie. It's really good for you to clear that up with Jules. And Louise asks, we use Compass Plus and have done for the past couple of years. My question is, we will want to send out a questionnaire to all students in September about their career interest and would like to link it to the options on the individual profile page for students. Are these likely to change or remain the same?
Louise, I'm just trying to get my head around the question. Bear with me. So my question is...
It's okay.
I'm not exactly clear. If you could email the education inbox just with a screenshot. I'm not anticipating that there's going to be any major changes. It's probably Compass that you've used, but if you could send a screenshot, that would be great. And then we'll clarify on email.
Thanks, Marie. And Claire's asking, how long does free online training take to do? how much homework has to be done?
It's a really good question, Claire, and it's basically up to you. It is a self-certified course. It's really relevant for careers leaders, but obviously for governors, EAs, keen staff as well. And there's some core content. The guided learning hours are actually quite low in terms of the core content, but some of the extension exercises, particularly if you think of the learning that we've done through these modules, the hours can be infinite. So if you really want to kind of apply the learning and then sit and develop a strategic plan or a program, the guided learning hours can be infinite. But if you just want to have a look at the core content of the course, it's actually only just a couple of hours. But your homework is completely self-directed. So
yeah, Louise is going to put it in an email to you. I know sometimes I know it's sometimes difficult to squeeze it all into a live chat. Natalie's found it very invaluable. Thank you, Marie, for this.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, it's been so useful for us as well. But as Stuart said previously, what's been really good, much more than kind of listening to us talk, has been the resources and ideas that have been shared in the chat. I think they've just been incredible. So thank you so much. Is there anything else about, as Rachel said, about careers education that we can answer while you've got us? And then if not, we can start heading into the bank holiday weekend, hopefully for most of you.
Indeed. Indeed. I just wanted to, we did ask the other question the other day about people's favourite benchmark. And I think you said your favourite was benchmark 4. Did I get that right?
It is benchmark 4.
Yeah. And then others were saying benchmark 6. I think I said benchmark 5, obviously, because of who we are, I would say that. So I'm just wondering if you, for people on the call, what is your favourite benchmark, Gatsby benchmark number?
Stuart's come in with a serious question, but please do share your favourite benchmark. But I'll address Stuart's. I'm really sorry to hear that, Stuart. Compass Plus does link with a number of MIS systems, but I know that there are some that it doesn't. So I'm really sorry to hear that. If you can either pop it in the chat, and we'll follow it up, or drop us a line at the inbox. So let us know what your MIS system is, and I can certainly ask that question of the team.
You meant compatibility. You need a break. Oh yes, you've got a bank holiday weekend to look forward to, Stuart.
I learned that today, that when you're typing in the chat at speed, my spelling went out the window. So please don't worry about that. It's that typing at speed. Accuracy kind of faltered a little bit.
Brilliant.
So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll keep the chat open, but please do drop us a line at the inbox with anything else.
Yeah, we will indeed. And just to remind that this has been recorded, so will be available on the CEC website, along with all the resources. And these slides as well, Marie, I believe they're going to be available as well for people to refer to.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is great.
They'll be in the resource directory as well as on the Learn Live page as well.
It's good to know. Thank you very much. Well, I think that's it. I think it's a wrap, as they say. It's been great to work with you over these last few weeks on modules 1 to 4. Just to remind people that they are all available to watch back. If you want to watch them one after another, it'll take you about 4 hours, but I'm sure it'll be well worth it. And of course, the live chat will still be available. So if you are watching it on Learn Live, you can still ask questions through the live chat, and one of the team members will get back to you, or you can email education@careersandenterprise.co.uk. I'm just going to ask Rachel and Kelly to put links up as before to those email addresses and to where the resources are also. I think you just had a quick question in from Natalie. Is there a limit for schools in terms of how many students can be involved? Do you want me to take that, because I think that's our capacity? Natalie, there isn't any limit. It's unlimited, so we're quite used to large audiences. Biggest so far is 310,000 for one broadcast, so I'm pretty sure we can cope with the numbers. I'm looking forward to having your students involved in my week of work, which is on the 8th of June. Natalie, and Rachel's just
Yeah,
confirmed.
in terms of the Oak National Academy as well, it is open access. I think the Oak National Academy is essentially 20 sessions with careers education and then kind of tasks embedded that students are encouraged to do. Where the value is going to really come is if you're aware of those tasks and you're setting them through your own systems, Show My Homework, Google Classroom, and getting them back in. And as Fiona referenced, kind of engaging local employers as well and getting feedback. So the Oak National Academy resources are lessons with content and opportunities in there, but it's open access, it's free obviously to access, and the value will come if you're kind of overlaying, engaging with students, saying, we know that this task has been set, please send it back in, and and offering feedback to it and really encouraging them to be creative and develop their skills. So what the Oak National Academy kind of does is give that the insight and the opportunity, and then obviously the Learn Live sessions are much more interactive. So what we say in the teacher guide is that students are encouraged to ask questions in the Learn Live sessions that link to the Oak lessons for that day. Obviously they can ask any question they like, but the Learn Live bit will add that kind of interactivity and support making it even more meaningful. So no limit on numbers, and we've had a lot of questions in the inbox. It is free, and we're just really excited. So
yeah, and it's worth mentioning there's going to be around six at the moment sectors represented during that week. Construction, help me out here, Marie. Construction, engineering, manufacturing, creative and digital, adult social care. There's a couple more.
Health and social care.
Is it energy renewables as well?
Renewables.
Yeah, there's one more. Oh gosh, I should have my notes in front of me this time. But yeah, there's one more sector as well being represented.
I think we've covered them.
Yeah. If I've missed anything, apologies. But there's obviously, as Marie said, the employers will be linked. There's going to be about 30 to 40 employers all linked up during the week to take questions from as many young people who want to join to find out about those sectors, about those companies, and also about making themselves more employable as well. And that complements what they'll learn as part of the Oak National Academy on the Monday as well. So yeah, looking forward to meeting your students on that. There will be a registration page going up certainly after the bank holiday. So details will be sent out by the Careers Enterprise Company team. So you'll be able to sign up formally for that and get your students to leave questions in advance, because they'll be able to do that, and they'll be replied to as soon as possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I think that's pretty much it. We've covered everything. But again, Marie, thanks again so much for your time. Thank you, Rachel, as well. And enjoy the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah.
And just a reminder to everybody, please stay safe. And we'll see you again on a future CEC broadcast. Take care.
Hopefully on the 8th of June.
Hopefully on the 8th of June. Thank you very much. Take care, Marie.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome to this live chat facility tutorial. We have had a lot of questions recently about the chat facility and how to use it. So let's get into the video. The chat facility is built with students in mind, with a tool that doesn't need to be parent or teacher led. Each of our pages are linked to the person behind the broadcast, even after it's finished, so you can always ask your questions and get a response about the broadcast. So let's have a look at how to use the chat facility. To use the chat facility, the first thing to do is to type your comment or question into the chat box. You can now enter your screen name. Your screen name will show when you type your question or comment. Now you will see the chat facility ask for your email address. As I mentioned before, each of our pages are linked to people from the organisation who can reply to your questions. You can enter your email address, which will not be shared with anyone, to get a direct response from the people behind the broadcast. If you do not want a direct response, then click the button at the bottom. People behind the broadcast can still respond to you if you don't provide your email address. This just means you may have to come back to the page to check the response. You can now speak to the people behind the broadcast and ask any questions you may have, or check out our partner pages to see the companies we work with who you can speak to right now about their current vacancies. You can also check out our careers page, which connects you to employers. Our live chat service is linked 24/7 to employers from a wide range of sectors, all waiting to hear from you. You can leave a question about how to produce a professional CV or how to prepare for interviews, anything work related, and one of our businesses will respond to you directly. You can also access a wide variety of live interactive broadcasts and video on demand with the live chat support on all pages. Now, this bit is for the parents, guardians, and teachers. The best bit about the live chat facility is that it is completely moderated, so you don't need to worry if your young person leaves a silly comment, as it will only show on their screen and no one else's. Another great thing about the chat facility is that it is GDPR protected, so no information is shared with anyone else. We will protect all email addresses and will never share personal information of the young people. If you have any questions about the chat facility or the Learn Live channel, please use the email us icon at the top of the page. Thank you, stay safe and stay tuned.